Less than 1 year ago, the Cincinnati Bengals suffered a blow from which I wasn't sure we could recover. But only 4 weeks into the 2021 NFL season, and we may actually be living through the beginning stages of the greatest time ever to be a Bengals fan. We've had good rosters and winning records in the somewhat recent past. For instance, a few years ago, 2015, we were 12-4. And after drafting AJ Green and Andy Dalton in 2011, the Cincinnati Bengals made the playoffs in 5 straight seasons. However, we also lost every single one of those playoff games, with our QB1 at the time, as solid as he was in the regular season, never playing well in big games, including any primetime game whatsoever, and of course, the playoffs. So despite the fact that from top to bottom that 2015 roster was better than what we currently have, under second-year quarterback Joe Burrow, my Cincinnati Bengals got a little something different in their step. And don't look now, but guess who's number 1 in the division through the first month of the season? Oh damn, it's the Bengals, bro. Through the first 4 games, we've managed to get out to a fast start. And probably the most impressive thing is the fact that we've done it all while slowly easing Joe Burrow back into the groove of things, with him coming off of major knee surgery. Our number 1 receiver, who was dominant with our QB just a couple years ago in college, shocking surprise, they're still really good together. If you did have some concerns about Jamar Chase in the preseason, it was totally fair, as he was struggling for a short period of time there. Hopefully you've learned a very valuable lesson. The preseason is just that. It's the preseason. You can't read too much into it. But if you jumped all the way to the bus talk, I'm not sure there's a whole lot of hope for you, as you may be incapable of learning. Jamar has easily been the best rookie receiver through the first 4 games, and he's been the second highest rated deep threat in the entire NFL. Joe Burrow struggled to hit deep pass plays last year, and now that Chase is here, he's caught at least a 30-yarder in every single game he's played, and that includes 2 40-yard receptions and a 50-yard touchdown in week 1. We've seen some of your favorite receivers put it on the ground repeatedly already this season. But Jamar Chase, so far so good, as dude only has 1 drop since the season began. He's obviously gonna drop more passes at some point, like receivers drop passes, they don't catch everything. But because his catching was such a major talking point in the preseason, I just wanted to dead that right here in the intro. The Bengals are slowly slaying dragons, including handling the Steelers, beating the Vikings in overtime, and getting a primetime victory under our belt, all while missing 3 of our best players. So we've gotten off to a strong start, but I'm not quite ready to declare the Bengals a playoff team just yet. Some fans have been diehard fans of successful organizations for their entire lives. You know, kudos to y'all. Other fans just jump on bandwagons every single year. Whoever's balling, that's who they ride with. And that's completely your right. But when you're a fan of an organization that needs to be turned around, and you're rebuilding primarily through the draft, it's gonna take time. We didn't come into this particular season with Super Bowl aspirations. We just wanted to see improvement from last year and proof that we're going in the right direction with an extremely young team. We still building our roster, trying to get into a position where we can push for that Super Bowl. But that takes years of good decisions, stacking the right draft picks, picking up the right free agents, making the right coaching moves over and over, catching a little bit of luck, getting a tough call from the ref, avoiding injuries. And there's a very real chance that you can do everything right and still not quite get there. So you need to enjoy the small victories along the way. So when we beat the Jaguars in Thursday Night Football, guess what? If we come back from 14 down, we celebrating that victory. Simply learning to beat bad teams consistently is a huge step for the Bengals. We only won 6 games in 2019 and 2020 combined, and we already have half that many wins through just 4 weeks of the new season. Bengals fans stuck through the worst of times, and we was all still fans and still rooting when things seemed hopeless. So as we currently sit in first place in the AFC North, we realize it may not last, but as fans who've been through it all, I think we're allowed to feel good about where our team currently sits. We're making progress and hopefully becoming a winning organization once again. Either way, these are reflections of a Bengals fan for the 2021 NFL season, weeks 1 through 4. Other than that, y'all already know what time it is, fellas. Chew the Wayne.
Yeah, you'll never know quitter, 'cause I'ma go get her.
All right, before we jump into today's video, a quick word from our sponsor, Wealthfront. So not long ago, I got more into long-term investing. And when I kind of put my big sister and my little brother on it, we realized that one of the things that held us back all these years was literally just not knowing how to get started. But the beauty of living in today's world is that there's simpler, much more convenient options when it comes to investing, which makes me excited to tell you about today's video sponsor, Wealthfront. Wealthfront is a service that makes investing easy and accessible no matter what level your knowledge of finance is. You don't need thousands of dollars to get started, and you don't need to spend hours on hours trying to manage your portfolio. With life finally starting to get back to normal, I don't know about you, but I'd much rather spend my time being present in these timeless moments, not obsessing over my portfolio. Good investing isn't the roller coaster ride you see in the movies, and Wealthfront adds even more truth to that statement. Using Wealthfront, you can become an investor with a diversified portfolio in just a few minutes. Answer a few questions to determine if you're a little more aggressive or the type that likes to mitigate as much risk as possible. And once you answer those initial questions, Wealthfront is going to build you a portfolio to maximize returns and minimize risk, all based on your personal risk tolerance. Then boom, they pretty much take it from there. But if there's anything specific that you also want to invest in, like tech or healthcare, or if you really into clean energy, with Wealthfront you have the flexibility to add on and build a portfolio that you really believe in. And they offer a range of investment accounts, whether you're looking for general savings or a retirement account. Plus, you only need $500 to get started. Investing, and specifically long-term investing, is extremely important. We may not all work the same jobs, but if you like me, you work extremely hard to take care of your responsibilities. But sometimes life gets so busy dealing with the day-to-day, you get so caught up in surviving that you forget to take time out to plan for your future. Grind season, where you burning the candle at both ends? Yeah, it's called grind season for an actual reason. It's not supposed to last forever. One day you want to be able to sit back and know you got security without having to trade time for every single dollar. So if you're ready to start securing your future, click the link in the description. Sign up and try Wealthfront today and get your first $5,000 managed for free. Shout out to Wealthfront once again for sponsoring the video. Don't forget to click the link in the description and check them out. Other than that, it's time to jump in. Skinner. So I mentioned how there's steps going from, a losing team to a winning team. With that said, I kind of felt the way with people trying to downplay our victory over the Jaguars. I know they aren't a great team, but according to you guys, we aren't a great team either. And I really don't think people realize how big of a win that was for us. We haven't played a full game yet. We've played a good couple of quarters pretty much in every single game we've played. But while that's true, instead of being 1-3, we're somehow 3-1. That feels good. We've been just scraping and clawing and getting victories. It's really not fair to tell Bengals fans that we're going to win 4 or 5 games, that we're a quote-unquote poverty franchise, that we should have taken Penei Sewell and not Jamar Chase and we're going to pay for it, and that basically our team is trash. Like, you can't tell us that and then also tell us that we're not allowed to celebrate beating the Jaguars on Thursday Night Football. For the Bengals, simply learning to beat bad teams consistently is a huge step forward. Check out this stat. Over the last 2 years, the Bengals have held the lead at some point in 24 of our 32 games, but we won a total of only 6 games in 2 years combined. No team since at least the year 2000 has led in more games in a 2-year span, but won fewer games than Zac Taylor's Bengals. Maybe that helps to better illustrate why we're in such a great mood. Before, we were finding ways to lose games, and this year, we're finding ways to win them. Let's start with the logical starting point. The key piece and the engine that makes it all go: Joe Burrow. And unlike some of his counterparts that he's often compared to, Joe Burrow's greatest strengths are not physical. He's not nearly the freak of nature that Justin Herbert or Trevor Lawrence is. He doesn't have the best offensive line in the league like Baker Mayfield. And he didn't inherit a coach like Sean McVay, Shanahan, Andy Reid, etc. We have one of McVay's understudies, and while I do believe he's beginning to develop into at least a decent coach, he's absolutely not there yet, and there's no guarantees that he'll ever get there. Don't take this next part as a knock on any of the other quarterbacks. I just want to point out the fact that Joe can't lean on his athleticism or arm strength as he learns the NFL, because while he's solid in those areas, he's definitely not elite in those areas. So Joe's got to play a different kind of game, a much more complex mental chess game against the defense. Already in his young career, Joe Burrow has full freedom at the line of scrimmage. And remember, we're talking about a cat who hasn't played a single preseason game in 2 years and has only played a total of 14 games in the NFL. Hasn't even played a full 16 yet between last year and this one. So as far as in-game experience, he's technically still a rookie. He's already won his 2 games this year in the fourth quarter by using his football IQ and killer mentality. Week 1 this year looked eerily similar to last year when Joey, as a rookie with no preseason and a pandemic year, drove the Bengals down and threw a game-winning touchdown to AJ Green with only a few seconds left in the fourth quarter to win the game. Again, this was his very first NFL game, but the referee called a tough OPI on AJ and we had to kick it. Routine field goal, but Randy Bullock smokes it and immediately fakes an injury. Compare that to this year. It's 4th and inches in overtime with like 30 seconds left in the game. We convert the 4th and inches, we win. We don't convert it, we lose, or the game is a tie. On 4th and inches, a dude who hasn't played ball since his injury sees something in the defense he likes, calls an incredibly risky audible, goes play action, again 4th and inches, makes the throw to Uzama, sets up the game-winning field goal. This time our rookie kicker McPherson hits it, we win the game. Boom, finding ways to win versus finding ways to lose. Joe had a terrible game versus the Bears as our offensive line honestly looked like last year in that game. I remember I said in my preseason video that I figured we'd have some embarrassing letdowns this year. The thing is, so far, the letdowns haven't been for full games. They've only been for a few quarters at a time, and offensively, we've always been able to finish on a strong note this year. That Bears game was the worst game I've seen Joe Burrow play in the NFL. Keep in mind this is week 2, Joe's still fresh off the knee injury, and in that game, the pass protection was breaking down. Joe seemed to get a little bit rattled, then he got a couple of passes tipped, and he ends up throwing 3 interceptions on 3 straight passes. On most teams, once your quarterback does this, you can pack it in. He misses a few throws or things don't go his way, and next thing you know, he's checked out of the game. But Joe proved to me once again that he's built different. And after throwing that 3rd straight pick on the very next drive, boom, touchdown to Jamar Chase. We mess around, get a stop on the next drive, boom, touchdown to T. Higgins, and guess what? In a matter of about 7 in-game minutes, we completely erased the 14-point deficit, and with 3 minutes left, we had Chicago on a 3rd and 9 with an opportunity to get the ball back. Andy Dalton started this game, but Justin Fields came in when Dalton got injured. Justin didn't have an amazing statistical day, but he did make a couple of really big plays, including breaking a tackle on this 3rd and 9 and converting that 1st down. This play probably won the game for the Bears. This, along with a forced fumble that, credit to him, he somehow ended up recovering. But my whole point in this is that unlike some young quarterbacks, Joe Burrow isn't nearly as fragile mentally, and I can say the same thing for Jamar Chase. Unlike some Bengals of the past, these guys can make mistakes and quickly learn from it and get better, all within the same game. We beat the Steelers actually pretty handedly in week 3, but then in week 4 versus the Jaguars, 4th quarter once again, and Joe's got 5 minutes to drive us down, get us in field goal range, and win us the game. He goes on a 71-yard 10-play drive, completely dices up the defense as he did the entire second half of this game, sets up a relatively easy field goal for our rookie kicker, he knocks it back, we win the game. 2 biggest plays of each of these drives didn't come from Joe getting outside and running a 4-3 up the sideline. It didn't come from him throwing a 70-yard pass off his back foot for a touchdown. Although he did make big plays with his arms and legs in both of these games. When it came down to it, in those key moments, he was the smartest player on the field. He saw what the defense was doing and got into the proper play and then executed it. Now, before I move on, I want to address one more narrative from last season. People were calling Joe a dinking duck quarterback, saying he couldn't push the ball down the field. Well, this year we've been pretty conservative with how many times we've passed the ball, but when we have opted to throw, we haven't been scared to go downfield. Joe Burrow actually has the 5th highest yards per attempt in the league, and he's actually 3rd highest if we only include quarterbacks with 100 or more attempts. Through 4 games, he's got just under 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions, 3 of which came in the same game, in the same quarter. Just an absolute breakdown breakdown versus Chicago, and he's completing 73% of his passes, all while averaging 9 yards per pass attempt. Bro, that's what's up. I honestly thought Joe would get off to a slower start than what he's done. He hasn't played at like an MVP level, but he's playing really, really well, and I know the sky's the limit for this dude. In my preseason video, I said I expected us to start a little slower and then pick up as the year goes. I didn't expect a slow start but look like 3-1, but I still do expect us to get better as a team as we go, and we're gonna have to because the schedule does get tougher. Now, also in my preseason video, I said that I believe Ja'Marr Chase was the best receiver in this year's draft and would have been the best receiver in last year's draft. I do understand that's a big statement, and I didn't say that to like try to downplay what CeeDee Lamb is doing. I think CeeDee Lamb is dope. I think he's great. I wasn't trying to downplay Waddle or Devontae or even our guy from last year, T. Higgins. I just think Ja'Marr Chase is that good. I think he's that special. That's my belief. So far, he's been proving me right. I never panicked throughout the preseason drops, and bro, when the regular season started, dude did not waste any time asserting his dominance. Without getting a ton of targets in shootouts or blowout games, Joe Burrow has thrown every single Cincinnati pass this year, and he has the 28th most pass attempts in the league. Right at the bottom of the league in attempts, and Chase is still doing what he's doing. Now let's talk about Zac Taylor a little bit and why I believe those attempts are so low. Zac Taylor started the year out on the hot seat, and he has not been really good since the Bengals have had him. With that said, we understand he's a young coach. He's trying to get his guys in the first couple of years, trying to get the system in, and trying to learn how to win games. A whole lot going on, all for a franchise that wasn't exactly on the up and up when he took over. And for that reason, I've tried to be really patient with dude, but I've definitely questioned a lot of the decisions that he's made. With that said, there's a few decisions that he's made that seem to, in hindsight, have been the right choices. For one, he's really eased Joe Burrow into this season. We have not thrown the ball a lot because he's obviously trying to protect our quarterback. There wasn't a whole lot of turnover on our offensive line. We added Riley Reef, we got a new offensive line coach, and honestly, just those two things alone, we look so much better. Like, guys were hurt last year a lot, but nobody cares about that. You know what I'm saying? When the Bengals get hurt, it don't matter. We just bad. Never injured, we just bad. Anyway, I'm in my feelings, all right. Zach and the coaching staff never said it publicly, but it was very obvious in games where we were dominating through the air, but we was running the ball so much that we've allowed teams to either hang around, get back into games, or like the Jaguars game, we've fallen behind. But when we have thrown the ball or just been forced to throw it, we've been really good. And I know fans immediately want to get greedy and go for 40 pass attempts a game, but I actually really like the slow kind of pace, especially since we was able to win through it. I feel like it will preserve Joe longer throughout the season. I feel like it helped the offensive line kind of get some cohesiveness through those first couple of games. And if you take a look at the sack numbers, we gave up 5 sacks in week 1. Only 2 of those were actually credited to the offensive line. The other was like running back protection. Then in week 2, we gave up another 5 sacks, right? Pretty rough start to the season. Then in week 3, we play against the Steelers, don't give up a single sack. Week 4, we play against the Jags, only give up 1 sack. I know we still don't have the greatest offensive line. We still have to continue to improve it, but we're definitely improved, and I've been encouraged by that. Zach's huge gamble to go get Ja'Marr Chase instead of getting Penei Sewell, who everybody was screaming to get, has paid off early in the season. So 2 really big decisions he's made have paid off. Also, I want to go back and talk about this. The defense has been a huge surprise. We've been really good in that young linebacking core, all drafted in the last 3 years by the Zac Taylor regime. That young linebacking core is really starting to come into their own this year, led by second-year linebacker Logan Wilson, a player who in the last 3 games alone has 33 tackles, 3 interceptions, and a sack. In only a second season, he may actually be blossoming into a star. A 3rd-round pick in what was an amazing 2020 draft from the Bengals. So check it out. In 2020, we got Joe Burrow in the 1st round, T. Higgins in the 2nd round, and then this beast in the 3rd round. Not to mention, we got another linebacker in the 4th round of that same draft, and the year before, we drafted a linebacker in the 3rd as well. All 3 of those linebackers are coming along really well, and currently they're all ranked inside the top 25 of graded linebackers this season, according to PFF. Jessie Bates and Chidobe Awuzie have played really well in the secondary, but they missed the Thursday night game, which really kind of sucks because that Thursday night game was the most watched Thursday night game, I think, since 2018. And while we did win and we did put on a great performance in the second half, I also know that people who watched that game have no idea that we were literally missing the best player on our defense in Jessie Bates. He makes a huge difference in both the pass game and the run game. I wish we had him. I think we would have looked better, but even without him, the defense at the end of the day, they came through, man. That goal line stop at the end of the first half, literally that and the Joe Burrow audible, those two plays won the game. But without that stop at the end of the half, that Joe Burrow audible literally doesn't even matter. Trey Waynes actually made his debut versus the Jags. This is the guy we signed in free agency last year. He missed the entire 2020 season and then missed the first 3 games of this year. And then unfortunately, the second he came back, Jessie Bates, PFF's highest graded safety from last year, misses his first game, I think, of his entire career. I don't think Jesse's ever missed a game, right? But the second Trey Waynes finally came back, Jesse missed. The good news is we still won anyway. But the point I'm trying to make is, going forward, if we can get Jesse back, his injury I believe is minor, get Chidobe back, also a minor injury, we can finally be at full strength on defense. Now, we had a couple of rookies that get hurt in preseason, but I won't even mention that because they were rookies, and even though they did look good in the preseason, we don't know what it was going to look like in the regular season. Joseph Ossai. I'm talking about Joseph Ossai from Texas. Can't wait to get him back next year, though. That D-line is already a beast. Once we add him, bro. Speaking of the D-line, gotta give them some love, bro. Trey Hendrickson. Huge signing. People said we overpaid. He's been really good this year. Hasn't gotten all the sacks that he probably should have gotten just due to drawing holding calls and, stuff like that. But the impact he has made on our defense, bro, it can't be understated. Sam Hubbard also got paid. Has been doing his thing. DJ Reader, BJ Hill, and Larry Ogunjobi. BJ Hill, Larry Ogunjobi, bro. I hope we can figure out ways to keep these cats on our team, but Ogunjobi gonna be looking to get paid after this year. I already know. Thing about the NFL is this: it is really hard to win consistently in this league, and I'm not sure if fans of consistently great teams can fully appreciate that. But if you're a fan of a bad team or of an up and down team, you know that's a fact. So while it's been nice to take a moment to reflect on our 3-1 status right now, I'm fully aware that within the next couple of weeks, it is possible that none of this stuff could matter. Our next 4 games include 2 huge tests for our team, the 2 best teams that we will have played this year. That includes the Packers and the Ravens. And I'm really hoping we get our key pieces back and can go into this Packers game, at least relatively healthy, because I don't really care what y'all think. I want to know. I want to know how good we are right now. I think I know. I think we're a 7-win team. I think we're explosive. I think we're dangerous. But I think that we still have a couple of cracks here and there that can be exploited within certain matchups. For instance, just look how much we struggled against the Bears. We should have easily won that game, but we couldn't block their D-line. We just couldn't stop them. So yeah, I feel good about the team, but I still don't quite know where we are. You know what I'm saying? So we can get into this Packers game 90% healthy, 95% healthy would be great. Get T. Higgins back, get Jessie Bates back, get Chidobe back. That's really it. Those are the main injuries. Just 3 main injuries, but it's literally at least 2 star players for us in Jessie Bates and T. Higgins. I don't even know if I mentioned T when I was talking about the Jaguars game. Yeah, he didn't play either. Now, within those next 4 games, while we may have the Packers and the Ravens, we also have the Lions and the Jets, 2 bad teams on paper that we should definitely beat. That said, I never sleep on teams with bad records. The Bengals aren't yet good enough or consistent enough for me to just completely trust them against a bad team. You saw what happened in the first half of the Jaguars game, so I'm not at the point where I can just write off the Jets and the Lions. If we show up and play well like we supposed to, just a 7 out of 10 game, we should win easily. But those dudes get paid too. They got real NFL players on their team that can make plays in any given week. They just haven't been able to put it together so far. With that said, even if we just go 2-2 throughout this stretch, we come out of that thing 5-3. Only 2 games off of my 7-win prediction. So as far as what I expected this year, We're actually ahead of schedule, and I'm looking forward to everybody getting back healthy and continuing to blossom into a real problem in this league. Only a few months removed from one of the worst days in Bengals history, along with our young leader, Bengals fans are coming off IR from a broken heart and currently making a full recovery. For the Cincinnati Bengals, the future is bright, and us Bengals fans, we're really excited, man. We deserve it. As through 4 weeks of the 2021 season, we're living in one of the greatest times ever to be a Bengals fan.